sit here for a few more minutes. Let's see if anybody has any questions about the process that we just went through. Any observations? Yes, April.
Okay, when you're doing access and you were asking her all those questions before you got to the resolution, is it the same for the money matrix? I mean, do you ask those same questions in addition to asking those 7 questions? Or do you just stick with the 7 money matrix questions and then go to resolution?
As the process, we got to the point where what I needed to do was find out what her experience was.
And so you would do that if we were in
if you're doing money matrix method, if you're doing money matrix method, you do the same thing.
Okay.
Okay. This is just basically helps you through the discovery phase.
Okay.
Okay. In other words, money matrix method helps you whiz through the interview phase and through the discovery. Well, you still have to do the discovery because you have to find out which of those statements are weak on. But once you're there, the access is going to be completely unique to that individual. And so you have to determine what is the access for this individual. With her, she had access, but you still have to go back and speak to that child. You have to find out, if access is available and you have access, then chances are it's an inner child issue. You made it when you were very little, or the decision was made then. So you have to go back to the first time you remember making that decision, talk to the child or negotiate with the child, find out what the child needs. And like in her case, we had to go back and rescue that child. And so once the child makes a decision to come with you as an adult or come with you to make a new decision, then the resolution phase begins. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but you're kind of integrating these 7 questions with the access procedure that you just did.
Right. Well, the 7 questions, for example, if, I can make money in the presence of my mother or in the presence of my father. If those go weak, then the issues, it's almost always relationships anyway, even if it's money. Then generally you have to go through, when was the first time you had, what are you feeling when you say that? Well, I feel this. Well, let's go back to the first time where you felt that.
So
and then, once they go through the first time they felt that, well, I felt this, I felt really grungy, and this was tight.
And then you're getting into the same procedure as you did with her.
You're just determining what was the issue that happened that you made a decision about money.
Got it.
There's some incident that happened where you made a decision as a child, assuming you have access, that this was, money is not good, or I shouldn't accept money, or I can't have it in the presence of my father, or something.
Because I was assuming yesterday after working with Teresa that, we just did these questions and then moved on to resolution. So it's
right.
You've got to find out which one or combination of these 7 statements it is, and then continue the procedure.
I think in here I also talk about access. Access is really the heart of both the money matrix method and logical soul. Is what makes the techniques different. Blah blah blah. I get into the personal story. See, the personal story is when you go back your first time.
Oh, okay.
How to test access. Access available to change this program. I allow so-and-so access to change this program. These are the words that you use.
So it's the same procedure. It's just a money issue.
It's just what I'm doing is I'm giving you the interview and the discovery questions or statements.
Okay.
Basically. But you're still using the logical soul procedure to get there. You with me?
Okay, yeah.
But you're narrowing it down to get to the crux of the issue. Because you may get one response at 20,000 and a different one at 100,000. So you want to keep testing until you hit that threshold and see where the problem is.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
So there are different circumstances where there are different amounts and there are different beings or mother, father, ancestors that will affect your relationship to money. And so money matrix method was designed to test those factors that could possibly impact your relationship with money. That's why it was designed that way. Okay. And that's the only one that I have that's different from logical soul, specifically for that purpose. For money and logical souls for the rest of it.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure that it wasn't money matrix over here and logical soul over here, so that you bring it.
They're the same process. Okay. This is sort of shorthand for getting to the access phase, whereas with logical soul you have to sort of figure out what the issue is.
Okay.
With this, you already know what the issue is. It's money.
Yeah.
I want more of it.
So clear on that one.
I want more money. So you want more money. The issue is easy. There's not a whole lot in the interview. Well, how much money can you have? Well, I can have 100, I can have 200, I can have 1,000, I can have a million. And then, like Ron says, you just determine the amounts, and you determine who affects those amounts, and then you go for access from that point.
If you're issues with different amounts or different people affecting them, can you solve it all through one session, or do you need to do different visualizations?
Theoretically, it can all happen in one session. Theoretically. Does it? Usually not. Usually there are layers. Like maybe you dealt with something related to your father, but then there's another layer. It had to do with your ancestors, or another layer had to do with somebody else. You know what I'm saying? So there could be different layers, but you don't want to do it all in one session unless it comes up all at one time. But generally speaking, there are going to be layers that present themselves. What you want to do is deal with the issue that's at hand, not anything that you want to invent or try to uncover on your own. Just the ones that come up usually is enough to handle. Yes, someone.
And as you say, the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah. Yeah, the proof is in the pudding. If you make money, then it worked. Or if you feel better about money, if you're attracting money, then that's what you're looking for. You're looking for your relationship to money. If that is better, and you can noticeably, like I've had several people just come to meetups, and then they leave. I had some lady go home, and she says, well, I came to the meetup, you did a session with me about money or whatever, and I went home, and suddenly I had these 2 or 3 phone calls of people wanting to use my services. I said, well, that's great. Would you say it worked? She said, damn straight, worked great. And then I haven't seen her since. I don't know what happened. I guess she got improved and nothing else was needed. So one session was all there was. This happens a lot. So a lot of people have told me that they've had major breakthroughs just doing one session. And I'm not surprised anymore because this stuff works. Now, if they don't have breakthroughs or they don't start attracting money, then I start getting curious. I wonder why that didn't happen. And I discovered that basically there are different layers because they've set up so many barriers to their success that you have to sort of break those barriers down one at a time until they can actually open the floodgates, and then suddenly everything happens. And I think that happened with my wife. There were different layers, and then suddenly when we hit on something, then the whole floodgates just opened up. Yes.
I know this isn't therapy, and I'm just thinking in those terms, but do you have to work on one thing before you work on another? Like if you're having money issues, do you need to work on relationships or something else before you get to the money, or do you have to get your money thing cleared up before you go on to relationships or work or finding your passion or whatever other issues you have, or you just do it as it comes up?
Okay, how did you drive to get here?
Got in my car.
Okay, you got in your car, you left your house, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then you came to what road?
Roswell Road.
Okay, and then you
made a right.
Roswell Road. Then you went a right. What road was that?
I took a right onto 120 East.
Okay, you were on 120
took
East.
a left on 75.
Left on 75.
And then got in the right lane and took 285 East.
Okay, now if I told you to leave your house and go to 285 immediately and skip all these other roads, could you have done that?
No.
Okay. So the same thing with Logical Soul. When you look for what to work on first, you open your eyes, you muscle test, and you find out what's up. That's called what's coming. Life will come at you, just like the road comes at you when you drive. Life is coming at you. If you're walking down the road, people are coming at you. Life is coming at you. Things are happening to you all the time. And so I like to think of life coming at me. There's not a whole lot to do except pay attention to what's in front of you right now, right this minute, right this second. So when you say, well, what do I work on first? Well, what are you feeling? What's the most important issue for you right this minute? Okay. That's what you work on. Okay. So if you're on Roswell Road, then that's the most important road to drive on right then. Right? I really wish it were more complicated than that. It's not. That's really all I can say about that.
I think a better analogy is, and I know where people live, she could have made a left on Roswell Road and come through to Riverside and gotten on 285 that way and gotten here.
Right.
Or, 5 other ways. It doesn't really matter how she gets there.
That's true.
It's whichever direction feels like the right direction.
Yeah, I like that analogy too. That's even better. It doesn't really matter I know you could deal with one issue, but it's going to.
There's
It's like a
more than one way
three-leg.
to
It's like
get
a.
here.
It's like a three-legged stool. You're going to drag one leg. That's what happens to the other two. They're going to come right along with it.
Right.
You know.
So there's more than one way to get.
Exactly. You know an interesting phenomenon, and then we're going to take a break. I did this work for years after my wife finally convinced me that I needed to work on myself. I was helping everybody else, and everybody was doing all these breakthroughs, but my wife says, "You're neurotic. You need a session." And so I finally started working with myself and letting her actually do sessions with me. And then I started noticing that money got better, our relationship blossomed, we got better. But I also noticed one thing curious is that suddenly I didn't have a fear of heights, and I had a tremendous fear of heights growing up. I was like deathly afraid of, you couldn't get me on top of a ladder. I mean, I'd like fight you, And I remember we went out to Arizona, we went to the Grand Canyon, and I'm walking out there on one of these ledges looking down a mile below me, and my wife said, "What are you doing? We haven't paid the life insurance yet." I thought it was curious because suddenly I wasn't afraid of heights. I was just walking out there and just looking. I wasn't going to jump, but I didn't have that fear that usually gripped me before. Because I haven't really been in that height situation before then. And then I realized, it was all that anxiety that I've been carrying with me all my life that suddenly disappeared. And it wasn't because I was working on the height issue. It was because I was working on some other things. This just happened to be the added advantage, so to speak, what you call that bonus that you get when you buy your popcorn, you get a free drink or something. It's an added bonus that I got from doing the work that I did. So even though you may not work on the issue, you may not even think about a certain issue, suddenly you may wake up and find out, that's not an issue anymore. I don't have that problem anymore. Wonder what happened to it. Anyway, I wanted to share that. We're going to take another break. Let's meet back at 3 o'clock, and then we'll go over. Then we're going to split into pairs and work with each other. Okay? All right. Where's everybody? Where's everybody? We're missing people.
Just one.
All right. We're going to get started. Okay. Close the door. Close that door. We'll get started. Let's have you work with Sedi. Why don't you work with Sedi? April, you work with Teresa. Okay?
Sure.
Okay. And then my wife and I will be floaters. We'll go back and forth, and we're going to be helping you. So if you're stuck on anything, just raise your hand. Let us know where you're stuck, and we'll come assist you. Make sure that you're going through all the phases. Remember what the phases are?
No.
It's the interview.
The phases are step 1, which is what? Interview.
Used to be preparation.
Step 2,
Discovery.
That's when you muscle test. And you're also discovering whether access available or not available. Step 3, access.
That's so good that it gets so boring that you really have it in your sleep. And
That's right. You can say this in your sleep by the time you get done with it. All right, step 4 is resolution. If you're unsure about where you are or what you should do next, just raise your hand and we'll come along and help you. But what I want you to do is real sessions with each other, okay? So you're really going to do some things. And when you feel comfortable doing them, I'll let you get up here and do it in front of the group. And that, as I said, you sit opposite one another. Make sure you can get up and muscle test. Do things. Decide who's A, who's B, and then decide who wants to go first and do sessions.
the session that Jeff had.
Right.
Yeah.
So what do you want then, Michael?
I want you to go through sessions. I want one of you to work with the other and go through the whole process. You should be finished in 35 minutes or so. If you're not, then you may get lost. Or if you get stuck, just raise your hand. I'll come over there and help you.
So do you want us to start from the beginning or where we left off yesterday?
Start from the beginning, because who you're working with may not know where you are. And so you can just tell them. The interview in that process will be you just telling them what you were working on. That's part of the interview. In other words, you're working with Teresa. Teresa says, "Well, tell you about it." And so you tell her about it, right? Mm-hmm. And so all you do is interview April and say, "Well, April, what'd you work on yesterday? Where'd you leave off? How do you feel about that?" What do you need now? What do you think statement you could make that if this were true, that problem wouldn't exist? That's how you get into it. Linda, you got all that?
That I really appreciate what you're doing this and helping me out. And that
I know it's anyone, see? That's anyone, see?
I realize most
yeah, anyone, see? It was just a teensy. Yeah, thank you. See? See, anyone.
suffering is trying